Talking with the experts.
Introducing Toni Bache in episode 272.
Yeah, I mean, look, my specialty is definitely in the online space, so I do not profess to be an expert at bricks and mortar. But I think for me, the biggest mistake that I see people making in both online and bricks and mortar is that they fall in love with the product and not in love with the people. And what happens when you fall in love with your product is that you think it's amazing, but you don't know if other people want or need that or think that's amazing. So I think regardless of whether you're online or bricks and mortars, you have to really define who your ideal client is and then really spend a lot of time getting to know that ideal client. Like, it's not enough to go, oh, it's women that are aged 25 to 35 and they live in Hobart. That's not enough. It's got to be, I know like what they're thinking, what their biggest challenges are. I know what they read. I know what they do. I know their deepest, darkest secrets, like really kind of know the psychographics as well as the demographics and actually speak to those people. Like when you can get a couple of your ideal clients together, and this is even if you haven't started your business yet.
Are you a non-techie, introverted author, speaker, coach, consultant, or entrepreneur wanting to make an impact through podcasting? In 30 days working one-on-one with you, I can show you how to build authority and credibility for your business. I'm inviting you to shift your thoughts about podcasting and allow yourself to expand into the next level of your life and business by joining the Podcast Wizard 30-day program as I help you take your podcast from idea to launch. Find it at rose-davidson.com under the Work With Me tab.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And just as a matter of interest, do you know what to outsource in your membership to create a high-touch feel? Well, Toni Bache is not your average seven-figure business coach. She's a vivacious Australian helping business women build and scale online businesses without sacrifice. And that's exactly what she's going to be discussing with us today. Welcome, Toni, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Rose.
Yeah, just got to let you know, everyone, Toni's just come off 40 hours of flying. So if she falls asleep halfway through, you'll know why.
It's not you, I swear.
So are you, you talk to business women about leaving the corporate life, starting their own online business, and the driving factors behind that is obviously freedom. So you're not answering to somebody else, but how do they juggle all the plates?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, Rose. I think that's kind of the big misnomer with business. And I was actually filling out a form at Sydney Airport on my partway through my transit for one of my mentors and friends, Stu McLaren, and he was saying, like, what are people's like objections to starting a business? And he was asking me this form, and I said, there's this misnomer that it actually needs to take a lot of time. It actually doesn't. You can run a really successful online business in just a little bit of time. And I think that juggle, all of the plates that they have to juggle, if you set up your business in the right way, then that actually makes your life become easier to juggle, because you're not trying to work around a 9 to 5 and have the kids on top and have a life on top of that. Like, you can actually kind of integrate your business. And I'm a big believer that you have to design your life first and your business second. So by designing your life first, then you can kind of have a scenario where you can choose how you balance everything and then make your business fit around that.
Yeah, don't do what I did and just leave your corporate job and then just think, oh yeah, I'll start a business and have no plan, like, no automation, no anything, just built as I went. And it doing it that way, trust me, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't work as well as if you have everything planned first.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you know what though, Rose, like I think you're not alone. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about helping, busy women find the way to make this work. Because when I started out, I was the same as you. I was still working in corporate and had this opportunity to start this business. And then it was like, oh gosh, this is like a lot. And so I had to really figure out myself how to juggle it. And then I nailed it. And so that's why I help other people do the same thing. But, it's not easy unless you've got a bit of a blueprint to follow and someone to help you to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wish I had and got a business coach to start with to set me on the right path. And I'm doing that with my podcasting at the moment. I'm teaching others how to podcast. And so, yeah, I've just formulated a 30-day program. And because a lot of people don't know how, and it's amazing. They jump in and think that it's easy, but it's easy once you get started. But
it's the same thing. If you've got a blueprint and somebody to give you some tips and tricks along the way, it's actually not so bad. But when you just try to do it on your own, then you're sort of trying to figure everything out. You can make a lot of mistakes and burn a lot of time, energy, and money in the process.
Absolutely. So what are some steps that people could do before leaving their corporate job to start their own business?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, Rose. So one of the big things that I'm really passionate about is building your audience and building those relationships beforehand. So even if you don't know, oh, this is the exact business I'm going to have, but you think, oh, it might be in this area, then you need to start kind of building those relationships, networking with those people and building the audiences. The businesses that I've launched over the last, probably 10 or so years, every single time I've launched with no money, no ads, no nothing at the beginning, because I already had those relationships. And for me, it wasn't strategic. I didn't kind of set that up going, oh, I'm going to set these relationships to set this business. But as as Steve Jobs says, you can never connect the dots looking forwards, only backwards. But as I connect backwards, that was the thing. I'm a great connector. I'm a great relationship builder, and people trust me because I give a lot, like I share a lot. I help people a lot. So then when I say, hey, here's an opportunity to work with me, people jump at that chance without me having to kind of sell and hustle. And so that's the advice I would give is, if you're at a corporate, start to build those relationships and start to kind of brainstorm and think what you want to do. And also don't be afraid to do it as a side hustle first. I know it might seem like, oh, it's a lot to juggle. And it is if you're doing a career and a business, and you might have, a family and other things in your life as well. Like that is a lot. But it's a good to kind of test the waters and see, do I like this? Do I not like that? And, build up some of that, financial security before you pull the pin and burn the boats like you did, Rose, and go, I'm leaving with no plans. So
absolutely stupid thing to do.
Look, it's such a tricky one, because I think sometimes when you burn the boat, it lights that fire under you that you have to succeed, right? You've got nothing to fall back on because you don't have that corporate gig anymore. But then when you do still have the corporate gig, it does give you that chance to sort of test the waters and do those sorts of things before you go all in and burn the boat.
Yes. I guess, would it be the same, if you were just, a stay-at-home mum and wanted to start a business? Would you, follow that same principle?
100%. Actually, a couple of clients that I work with, they are stay-at-home mums, and there's this program that I've been working on, and it's called Made for More. And I call it Made for More because that's what these kind of, stay-at-home moms have been saying to me is like, I love my family, I love my kids, but I feel like I'm made for more and I want to do more. And I've been working on this program that's kind of specifically for people that are sitting there thinking, I'm made for more. I'm made for more than being a mum. I'm made for more than, having a corporate career. I'm made for more. I know that I can have more fulfillment doing something else. And I think 100% it's around building that audience. And, one of my clients, she built a really successful Instagram following just by sharing stuff she loves. And then when she launched her business, she had this massive uptake right away because she'd already built this Instagram following. And look, I'm not saying it's all about followers and likes or anything like that, but if you can just start to build that audience and that authority where people know who you are and what you're great at doing, it really helps give you a launch pad to do that from.
I agree. I think the networking part is really important, and building a following for that know, like, trust factor that is so important in having a business, an online business especially. Yes, but if you're not having an online business, what kind of strategies do you think would be for a bricks and mortar?
Yeah, I mean, look, my specialty is definitely in the online space, so I do not profess to be an expert at bricks and mortar. But I think for me, the biggest mistake that I see people making in both online and bricks and mortar is that they fall in love with the product and not in love with the people. And what happens when you fall in love with your product is that you think it's amazing, but you don't know if other people want or need that or think that's amazing. So I think regardless of whether you're online or bricks and mortars, you have to really define who your ideal client is, and then really spend a lot of time getting to know that ideal client. Like, it's not enough to go, oh, it's women that are aged 25 to 35 and they live in Hobart. That's not enough. It's got to be, I know like what they're thinking, what their biggest challenges are. I know what they read. I know what they do. I know their deepest, darkest secrets. Like, really kind of know the psychographics as well as the demographics, and actually speak to those people. Like, when you can get a couple of your ideal clients together, and this is even if you haven't started your business yet, get a few people that you know would be your ideal customer and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? Most people are so happy to do that. And just chat to them and understand like what their problems are. Because if you can solve their problems, like, that's what they're looking for. And it's the same in bricks and mortars and online. If you can solve their problems, like if you, I have a friend who's got a business that's helping tradies. It's like balm for their hands getting, and like, it's like, yeah, tradies get rough hands. So if you can solve a problem and you can provide yourself as that solution, you never have to sell. All you have to do is be like, I have a solution to your problem. And so I think that's the key thing, online or bricks and mortars, is having solutions to your ideal customers' problems.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
the only other thing I would say about bricks and mortars, we have a bunch of customers who are bricks and mortars, and they're evolving into the online space because they're seeing a huge opportunity to move into that online space. And I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing right now with people with bricks and mortars business is rent. They feel like a little bit out of control with the rent that might go up, might go down, they might get thrown out, they might be allowed to stay, and not having that freedom. And staffing, having a lot of problems with team, finding the right people, keeping them engaged, and those sorts of things. And that's the big attraction, that they're like, Toni, you mean I can do this online and I don't have to deal with all of these people, and I don't have to have rent and all of those things. We've had one of our clients recently sell her bricks and mortar business because she's really going all in on the online space, and another that's doing it to complement, actually a couple of others that are doing it to complement. So that's the other thing I'd say with bricks and mortars versus online. Online businesses are very inexpensive to start. Bricks and mortars, like, you do have a lot of overheads with stuffing and rent and fit out and product and stock and all of that stuff. So just make sure you know your numbers, because if you don't know your numbers before you go in, we saw just down the road, there was a chicken shop that opened, and it literally lasted 3 months because they hadn't done their numbers, and they just couldn't financially, they got foreclosed. And so that's the big thing I would say, bricks and mortars, is like, you have to know your numbers and know that you've got a problem you're solving for your ideal people.
Yeah, I agree with it. Right, my husband and I, some years ago, back in 1998, bought a fish and chip shop on the Gold Coast up in Burleigh.
Oh, awesome. Oh, beautiful place. That's where I am.
Oh, is it? Yeah, whereas it was on the Gold Coast Highway next to Monty's Takeaway.
Oh, awesome. I know exactly where.
Yeah, and so we were there for 10 years, and we just bought ourselves a job because we couldn't get a paying job anywhere. So we bought the fish and chip shop, but we didn't understand the numbers and how much that the previous owner had inflated them to the point where he wasn't making nearly as much as he said he was. And, we didn't go to an accountant and do any of those things. And, we were really challenged until the 2000 Olympics that year and the year after were our very best years. And we should have sold then. But my husband wanted to hang on because the old Burley pub was being demolished and that resort was going in there. But that was our undoing, unfortunately. And, we just didn't recover from that. So, so it pays really to know if you're buying a business or starting a business is to know that you've got enough money in there to last you for at least a year without having to take a wage out of it. So
100%.
Yeah, it was a very, very hard lesson learnt by us. Anyway.
It's so heartbreaking. Like so many people learn the hard way, and I think it's just there's lots of little things you can do, whether it's online or bricks and mortar. There's lots of little things you can do to avoid ending up in that situation, because no one wants to just buy themselves a busy job. Like I'm sure you weren't like, let me be in Burley and let me work myself to the ground every day in a fish and chip shop and take home next to no money. That sounds like super fun. Like,
that's not what we planned, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I ended up actually going to work back into corporate.
Wow,
because I hated the shop anyway. So.
Well, it's been shut down for a long time now, and even Monty's is relocated because that whole arcade behind, they're building a big high rise on top of that, and there's a tram station. You wouldn't recognize it now.
Oh wow, I'm surprised that he sold. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get off that. That's okay. That's just, a bit of gossip there. That's fine. Toni, have you written any books about your journey at all, or some, know-how books or knowledge books?
I haven't yet. It's on the list of things to do. My husband's always telling me, oh, you should write a book about it. And it is on the list of things to do, but I feel like I always have to be in alignment with what I'm telling my clients. And a lot of my clients, I think everybody feels like they've got a book inside them, right? And a lot of my clients are like, shiny object book. And I'm like, but you have to do all these other things first. And I kind of feel like it would be the same for me if I wrote a book right now. It would be like shiny object book. So there'll be one day, but there's lots of other things I've got to check off the list before I get to that point.
So your specialty is in membership. Yes. So how would someone on an online business build a membership for their business?
Yeah, so really the big difference between a membership and say an online course is that there's that recurring revenue, and courses tend to give you information on this is how you do a thing, versus a membership tends to help support the implementation of that. And there is a myriad of different types of memberships. So not all of them will check that box. So if you're like, I've got a different membership idea and it doesn't check that implementation box, don't panic. But that's kind of the general speak. And so how you would start it is honestly no different to how you would start any other online business, by identifying who your ideal client is, what problem you're solving for them, and then really think about what's that customer journey got to look like. If they're here now and this is where they want to be, what's that process you're going to take them on to get them from where they are to where they want to be, and kind of what's that pathway that you're going to support them through and help them through. And then really in that is just breaking down in that membership and defining what deliverables are you going to give them in order to help them go along that pathway, if that makes sense. So it's not too dissimilar to an online course, except for an online course is very much has a very clear beginning and a very clear end and is quite informational. Whereas a membership is kind of tends to be a lot more long running and a lot more, I don't want to say supportive, because I think then people think, oh, I've got to give a lot more. You don't have to. It depends on how you set your membership up, but it's a lot more focused on that implementation side and delivering that.
All right, it's interesting. It's because the program that I'm just about or have launched actually, it would be more of a membership thing, I think, perhaps because they would be learning along the way after the 30 days. So that's actually.
Well, it's actually, in Rose, a great thing that I suggest to people, two things. Number one is it's quite often good to have a front end course, like your 30-day course, and then an ongoing back end membership to support the implementation. So that's a perfect setup. And I also say, if you're in doubt about oh, should it be a membership or not? I always suggest starting it with a course, because the good thing about a course is, let's say you do a course for 30 days or 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it is, and you get to the end of the course and you're like, oh, I hated that. That was not for me. Those people were not for me. I'm moving on. No harm, no foul, right? Like, you just move on. Whereas if you would have done it as a membership, you'd be like, oh, I've got to go ongoing. But if you get to the end of that course and you're like, I love these people, I want to keep helping them, then at the end of the course, you say, hey, I've got an idea for a membership. Do you want to be a part of that? Be a founding member of my membership. So it works really well, kind of hand in hand with courses, because you can kind of have that back end membership, but you can also use the course to test the waters before you go all in on the membership as well.
Good idea. Yeah. So food for thought, people.
Definitely.
Oh, Toni, where can people find you if they'd like to work with you?
Yeah, so on Instagram and Facebook, Toni Bache. Yeah, you can find me, contact me anytime. I'm so happy to chat and help you on your membership journey, and any questions you have anytime.
Terrific. And any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Look, I really think the big thing I would say to anybody that's considering having a membership or any kind of online business, or even business in general, is just go for it. A coach gave me some great advice a long time ago, and he said, nobody ever leaves a marriage and says, oh, I wish I'd stayed longer. And nobody ever leaves a job and says, oh, I wish I'd stayed longer. And so I think, if it's something that's in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to do, just go for it. There's amazing people like Rose that can support you on that journey. And you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, because when you can design your life first and then design your business second, then all of a sudden you've got a whole new realm of possibilities and just the life that you really want to live.
Absolutely. Great advice. I like that. I think I'll write that down later. Toni, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for rushing back from your trip to be with me today, and I hope to speak with you again later on in the year, perhaps.
Sounds great, Rose.
Thanks, Toni. Bye for now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.